guys are a mess. Good morning. It's still morning, right? Yes. Good. So leadership in water, it's a little different from some of the other presentations, and in fact, what we're going to be talking about is water, which I didn't get the bottle yet. And you guys are the leaders that I'm talking about. So this, H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. It's probably one of the most memorized chemical equations that people are really familiar with, even people who've never taken chemistry. Water is something we marvel at. You go to the lakes, you go to the beaches, it's amazing when you see a wave, isn't it? It's something we drink, we bathe in, we need it for all kinds of things, and we also take it for granted. Scientists are scouring the universe looking for planets that contain water. Kepler is one of NASA's satellites. Kepler is responsible for keeping track of 150,000 stars in the universe. Last Thursday, Kepler found 3 planets, which they believe hold water. So we're all pretty excited about that, except these 3 planets are 6 trillion miles away. So we will never have access to them. But just the fact that there's possibility that there's water out there somewhere other than our planet is amazing to us. You know, I really got interested in this topic in 2011 because before I left the United States and went to Nairobi in 2011, I didn't have a real appreciation or real understanding of how important this topic was. So in 2011, I went to Nairobi with 35 other people. And before we got on the plane, our pastor said, do not drink anything that comes out of a tap. If it doesn't come out of a bottle, don't drink it. If you're in the shower, keep your mouth closed. Be careful of what's on your feet and your body, and make sure you wash well, because you're about to enter a land that is just not the same. So we landed in Turkey, and we were excited because after a 10-hour flight to Turkey, we only had 6 more hours to get to Nairobi. We were on the runway, and once we were on the runway, the pilot in Turkish told us to get off the plane. We didn't understand the language, so we all got off the plane with everybody else, and we realized that there was a volcano in Africa. And we would have had to fly right through the ash. Well, planes can't fly through ash. That doesn't work out too well. And so we landed. We had to stay in Istanbul. We hadn't planned to be there. And we immediately ran to buy water. So we got to Nairobi the following day at 3 a.m. By 6 a.m., we were in a tent. If you can imagine a circus tent. And this circus tent was where we set up for to give medical attention to 1,700 people in 4 days. We know we saved 4 lives, 2 that needed water. We were asked once we landed to divide up in groups of 5 and go to the slums and recruit people for medical attention. We're like, what? What do you mean go in the slums? And by the way, leave your passport and your money. You don't need either one of those. You just go with you and the faith that you have and a bottle of water. So we walked those slums and we recruited people, and we realized there was no running water. And by the way, one slum was 300,000 people and the other slum was 700,000 people. And we never got to the slum that was 1 million people. And we walked those slums and we realized there was no running water except down the middle of the street, and something you didn't want to drink. And we realized that the bottle of water we held was probably worth more than any money we could have taken in those slums. So my responsibility when we got back to the tent was in the pharmacy. My job was to hand out the medicine after the pharmacist had counted it out. And so I realized as I was drinking my water, I had 300 faces looking at me. By the way, the Kenyans are very quiet people. And once they got through the doctor, they waited for the medicine. And they were looking at me, and I'm thinking, what are they looking at? They were looking at the water. So that night, I said, guys, we got to do something different. We've got to do something different. And so we collected money, $600, and bought 2,000 bottles of water. And the next day it was my responsibility to hand out the water with the medicine. They wanted the water more than they wanted the medicine. One little boy walked up to me. He was about this high. He walked up to me, and he said, well, he couldn't hardly talk, really. And he pointed to the water. And I said, I can't give it to you. I give it to you when Mama comes. He went back to the crowd and came up and handed money out to me. It broke my heart. So we then began to give the water out with the medicine, and we realized the price of something that we take for granted. So I'm asking you to do is to understand your water footprint. Turn it off. If you don't want any water in a restaurant, tell them don't bring it. If they bring it, drink it. Your body needs it. Talk to corporate America about water. Talk to them to help them understand your clients, to help them understand the importance of it. In 2012, Coca-Cola reduced their water footprint by 20%. By 2015, Ford Motor Company is going to decrease their water footprint in manufacturing by 30%. Levi Strauss has figured out how to make a pair of blue jeans with less water. So it's important to them, and they recognize it. We just need to turn up the heat and let them know how important it is to us. I wanted to read to you, and by the way, this face is amazing to me. This little face. So I brought these so you guys can look at them if you want to. I want to read you some quick statistics on water. An American taking a 5-minute shower uses more water than the typical person living in a slum in a developing country uses in a day. 85% of the world lives in the driest half of the planet. Less than 10 countries possess 60% of the world's available fresh water. Less than 10 countries. Since 1940, the world's water use has quadrupled while the population has only doubled. Water-related diseases kill one child every 15 seconds. We had to beg a mother over there to give her child water. She said it's too valuable to give that baby. Over 50% of all water projects fail. We can only use 1% of the 3% of fresh water. Producing enough food for the increased world population will require 50% more fresh water. And the last one, based on the use of water in Europe and North America alone, we need 3.5 planet Earths to sustain it. Be the leaders in water. Every drip matters. That's all I got.
Yes.